Today I'm about to share with you a universal secret that you probably have never heard before. So let's dive into the extraordinary world of possibilities. You see, there are two powerful windows in our daily lives, windows that hold the key to unlocking our true potential. One is when we wake up in the morning, and the other is when we go to bed at night. These moments are critical because they shape the state of our brain waves, transitioning from delta to theta to alpha to beta when we wake up, and from beta to alpha, delta when we go to bed. Now, why is this important? Well, these transitions create an opportunity for us to be more suggestible to information. But what do most people do when they wake up? They dive straight into the past. Your brain is a record of the past, an archive of everything you've learned and experienced up to this point. So picture this. You wake up, and what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Often, it's the problems, the challenges, the memories connected to certain people, things, times, and places. As you start dwelling on these issues, emotions start to surface, tying you back to the past. Now, your body is no longer in the present. It's stuck in the familiar past. What happens next is a cycle of thoughts and feelings. You wake up, feel nothing at all, and then, in an attempt to reaffirm your identity, you start thinking about your problems. And here come the emotions. You start feeling like yourself again, but now you're caught in a loop. If you feel like a failure, you'll think like a failure, and vice versa. The cycle continues, shaping your identity and conditioning your body to become the mind of that emotion. Breaking free from this cycle means getting out of the past. But here's the kicker. Most people are comfortable being unhappy because it's familiar. They'd rather cling to their unhappiness than step into the unknown, into the river of change. Let's take a closer look at what we call the known. It's like a cozy, familiar space that most of us find ourselves in, maybe more often than we realize. This space is crafted from our past experiences and the anticipation of a future that feels, well, kind of predictable. You see, we humans are creatures of habit. We thrive on routines and the comfort of knowing what's coming next. It starts when you wake up in the morning and you go through the motions of checking your messages, scrolling through social media, and following the same routine day in and day out. It's like your body hits autopilot, and you're on cruise control through a future that seems to be based on what you did in the past. Why do we do this? Why do we cling to the known with such gusto? The answer lies in our love for predictability. We feel secure when we can anticipate what's going to happen next. It's like a safety net that we wrap around ourselves, shielding us from the uncertainties that the unknown might bring. So picture this. You wake up, and the first thing you do is check your phone. Maybe you've got some messages waiting for you, or perhaps you want to see what's happening on your social media feeds. It's a routine, a habit you've formed. You follow it day in and day out, and before you realize it, your day has started on the same track as the one before. Your body knows the drill. It's been here before. It's like a script you've memorized, and you play the same scenes over and over. You move through your day almost on autopilot because, well, it's what you've always done. Your body is dragging you into a future that seems predetermined by the actions of your past. Now, let's dig a bit deeper. Why does this happen? It's not because you're lazy or lacking ambition. No, it's because your brain loves patterns. It's wired to recognize familiar pathways and follow them because, hey, they worked before, right? Your brain is a master at efficiency. And if it finds a route that leads to a known outcome, it will happily take that path again and again. But here's the thing. While the known might feel safe and secure, it can also be limiting. It keeps you in a loop that repeats the same patterns and behaviors. You might be doing things that you did 10 years ago, and your body is following along, thinking it's still living in the same experiences. It's like your past is stuck on repeat, playing out in your present and influencing your future. Breaking free from this loop is the challenge. It's like trying to step off a moving walkway at the airport. You're so used to the motion that standing still feels strange. That's what happens when you try to break away from the known. The comfort comfort of routine is powerful, and venturing into the unknown can be intimidating. So where's the solution? It lies in the present moment. The only place where you can break free from the known and step into the unknown. Most people fear uncertainty, but it's in the unknown that infinite possibilities exist. Stepping into the river of change means making new choices, understanding that uncertainty is the unknown. Now let's address the stress response. The idea that things will get worse or that you can't control something triggers stress. In the unknown, the survival gene kicks in and people tend to select the worst scenarios in their minds. But what if you could regulate your state in the unknown, embracing the uncertainty and unpredictability? This brings us to the creative process. My definition of creation is forgetting about yourself, becoming pure consciousness in the generous present moment. When you reach that state, all possibilities in the quantum field open up. Now let's talk about fifth dimensional creation. It's not about going somewhere to get something, it's about collapsing space and time. Thoughts are electric, feelings are magnetic, and when you combine a clear intention with a coherent brainwave pattern and a coherent heart, you become a vortex, drawing experiences to you. How do you do this? By closing your eyes and mentally rehearsing who you want to be when you open them. This installs the neurological hardware in your brain to look like you've already done it. You become the vortex, broadcasting a new signature into the quantum field. But here's the catch. You need to revisit that energetic signature every single day. This consistency aligns your energy with the potential in the quantum field. You're not going anywhere to get anything. You're drawing the experience to you. Now, let's shift gears to three-dimensional creation. This is when people try to change matter while being matter. Want a good job? Submit countless applications and go on numerous interviews. Want a new relationship? Dive into online platforms, spend time selecting, and hope for the best. It's about taking your attention off matter, off objects, off particles, and sensing energy and space. When you open your focus, your brain waves shift from beta to alpha, creating coherence. What syncs in the brain links in the brain. Picture this scenario. During a retreat, after a few days of this practice, we see large areas of the brain synchronizing. The left side talks to the right, the front talks to the back, creating a whole brain state. And what happens next is magical. Tears of joy. The person feels so whole, so complete, that wanting becomes impossible. Why does this happen? Because when your brain is coherent, you are coherent. And when your brain is incoherent, you are incoherent. This coherence opens the gateway for downloads, epiphanies, information from the field beyond our senses. Now let's talk about the superconductor of consciousness, the nervous system. It truly is the bridge between the physical and the metaphysical. The best way to predict your future is to create it. In the unknown, where uncertainty and unpredictability reside, you have the power to regulate your state. Closing your eyes, focusing on the thoughts and behaviors you want, you become the creator of your reality. So here's the universal. When you feel that feeling and it's visceral, no person, no thing, no experience will stand in the way between you and that vision. And you will be initiated by the universe into wealth. Once you start feeling unlimited, once you start feeling abundant, once you start feeling worthy, now you're teaching your body chemically to understand what your mind has intellectually understood. Now it begins to come to you. You become the vortex or the magnet to your destiny. You are not going anywhere to get anything. You are actually collapsing space and time, and you are drawing the experience to you. You are the vortex because when there's a vibrational match between your energy and that potential that exists in the quantum field by tuning a radio dial, when you lock into that frequency, if you keep revisiting that energetic signature over again every single day, then you don't have to go anywhere and get it. The new job finds you, the new house actually finds you, the new relationship finds you, because you are the vortex that's drawing the experience to you. The universe only gives us what we think we're worthy of receiving. So we got to come initiated into this and understand it. If you want to create a new life, a new personal reality, you got to change your personality, which means you better start thinking about what you've been thinking about and changing it. You begin to become conscious of your unconscious actions or habits or behaviors and modify them. And then we have to begin to look at the emotions that we live by every single day that keep us connected to the past and decide, do these emotions belong in our future? So most people are trying to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. You literally have to become someone else. And can you select a new possibility in the quantum field and begin to emotionally embrace that future every single day to such a degree that your body, as the unconscious mind, the objective mind, does not know the difference between the experience in your life that's creating the emotion and the emotion that you're fabricating by thought alone, to the degree that you begin to signal new genes and new ways to change your body to look like the experience has already happened. Now, the latest research in epigenetics says it's absolutely possible. This every day, installing the circuitry every day, conditioning the body into the emotion of the future, that your body begins to change to look like it's already happened. Now, this is where it gets fun, because now you no longer have to go anywhere to get it. If you think that your thoughts have something to do with your future, just from a theoretical standpoint, that your thoughts create your destiny, and you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day, and 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before, well, then your life isn't going to change very much as long as you're thinking the same way. If you're not being defined by a vision of the future, then you're left with the memories of the past. Is it possible then that the way you think and the way you feel can begin to produce effects in your outer world? Now, that isn't something that you swallow in one bite. It's a process of gaining knowledge. It's a process of practice. It's a process of experience. But once you start seeing those synchronicities, those coincidences, those opportunities that start to fall into place because you're experiencing change in your outer world, if you're doing the work, you're going to start paying attention to what you're doing inside of you that's producing the effect outside of you. And once you correlate the changes of what you're doing inside of you with the effect you produce outside of you, you're going to pay attention to what you did and you're going to do it again. And all of a sudden, you're going to start believing more that you're the creator of your life and less of the victim of your life. And those same thoughts lead to the same choices. The same choices lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the exact same experiences, and we anticipate the same feelings or emotions from those experiences. And those emotions are the payoff that drive our very same thoughts. Well, our biology, our neurocircuitry, our neurochemistry, our hormones, and even our gene expression will be equal to how we think, how we act, and how we feel. And how we think, how we act, and how we feel is called our personality. And our personality creates our personal reality. That's it. I want people to begin to understand that thoughts are very powerful, feelings drive our thoughts, and that they can begin to create a better life for themselves once they understand some of these principles. We live in a world where often when people think about visioning the future, they vision stuff. So you have a vision of the car you want, or you have a vision of an amount of money you want, or you have a vision of a home you want, and you see this with people with their vision boards. What's your take on that? And is that the right type of visioning? And what is the right type of visioning? Well, we do so many different variations because I think people integrate information differently. And all of those cars and homes and whatever that is, they are symbols of what it looks like when a person actually arrives at this concept called abundance, right? So if those things help them to associate with something that creates a feeling of abundance, and they're building their vision board to help them to get clear on their intent, then that's fine. Because they're associating objects or things or material things that they'll say, that's when I know that I'm abundant. That's fine. Other people will say, look, abundance just means that I have more than I need, and I'm happy with that. And for them, there's a feeling that is associated with that. And when they begin to dream about their future, they may see themselves in a scene or see themselves a certain way. I don't care what it takes for the person to get there, because once they have their abundance, and this happens quite a bit in our work, when you finally have everything you want, there's only one thing you're going to ask yourself. How am I going to contribute to the world? How am I going to make a difference? So we use different tools to help people to get to that point. But if the person's doing the vision board and they're saying, when I get my new car, I get my new house, I get my new relationship, then I'm going to feel so great. Well, then they're back to the program, waiting for it to happen, for them to feel the emotion. They're believing their outer world has to change in order for them to feel better. There's no effect of drawing the experience to you that way. So the person has to use those tools to get them into the emotional state, for them to feel like it's already happened. Now think about this. If you get up from a creative process and you feel grateful, you feel a love for life, you feel a joy for existence, you feel a passion for the moment, you will not be looking for your future because you'll feel like it's already happened. It's the moment that we start feeling those self-limiting emotions, that we feel separation, and then we start looking for it again. Well then, if you're waiting, you're not creating, you're in separation again. So then, whatever it takes for you to move into a state of being. And what is a state of being? Thoughts are the vocabulary of the brain. Feelings are the vocabulary of your body. How you think and how you feel creates your state of being. So then, if you wake up in the morning and you come back to your senses with a clean slate and you say, I don't feel anything, and you say, well, let me start thinking about all the problems in my life. Well, all those problems are connected to different people or different objects or things at different times and places. The moment you remember your problems, a memory is a record of the past. You're thinking in the past. Every one of those problems has an emotion associated with them. So all of a sudden you start feeling unhappy, you start feeling bitter, you start feeling frustrated. So now your body's in the past. So then most people then create a state of being that's connected to their past. And if they're in the familiar past, then they are going to crave the predictable future, and they're going to fall back into routine. So then we want people then to get very clear on that vision of their future, however they do it, and begin to combine that clear intention with an elevated emotion. And the stronger the emotion they feel from the vision they're creating, the more altered they feel inside of them, the more they're going to pay attention to the pictures in their mind. And now they're remembering their future. And biologically, it's exactly the same as remembering your past. In fact, if you're not being defined by a vision of the future, it means you're making your past more real than your future. So how many people in this audience have a clear vision of their future? You see, you think 60 to 70,000 thoughts in one day. Out of those 60 to 70,000 thoughts that you think in one day, 90% of those thoughts are the same thoughts as the day before. So if you believe that your thoughts somehow are connected to your life, then the same thoughts always lead to the same choices. The same choices always lead to the same behaviors. The same behaviors create the same experiences, and the same experiences produce the same emotions. And those very same emotions drive the very same thoughts. And your biology, your neurocircuitry, your neurochemistry, your neurohormones, and even your genetic expression is equal to how you think, how you act, and how you feel. And how you think, how you act, and how you feel is called your personality. And your personality creates your personal reality. That's it. So then, if you wanted to create a new personal reality, a new life, then you would have to start thinking about what you've been thinking about and change it. You would have to become aware of your unconscious thoughts and observe them. You would have to pay attention to your automatic habits and behaviors and modify them. And you would have to look at the emotions you live by every single day that are connected to your past and decide if those emotions belong in your future. You see, most people try to create a new personal reality as the same personality, and it doesn't work. You literally have to become someone else. And you are here this week to learn vital information about creating a future and be defined by a vision of the future instead of the memories of the past. Because if you are not defined by some vision that is bigger than you, and you are not passionate about that vision, then you are left with the old hardware of the past in your brain, and you will be predictable in your life. So would you agree then? New thoughts, new information should lead to new choices. New choices should lead to new behaviors. And new behaviors should create new experiences. And new experiences should produce new emotions. And those new emotions should drive new thoughts. And that's called evolution. So if your brain is a record of the past and you don't have a vision of the future, then you are living in the past. And you will never arrive at that new future. Now there's another potential for you to exist free from the chains of the old self. That potential exists right now. And I want you to teach your body emotionally what it would feel like so that it begins to believe it's in the actual experience of freedom. Let your body feel freedom so that it thinks it's in the experience. And I want you to sit in your body emotionally to feel the joy of how you would feel. So the body begins to be in a future potential now, emotionally. And there's a potential for you to have all your needs met and be wealthy. And I want you to instruct your body to experience wealth and the joy of riches ahead of the actual events, so your body thinks it's in the experience. If you feel it, your body thinks it's in the experience. It doesn't know the difference. Now there's a potential in the field for a genius mind, quicksilver thoughts, insights that take you to new horizons. And the electricity that's created from an open mind, teach your body emotionally the joy and the inspiration of what that would feel like, so the body begins to experience your genius and think that it's in the event now. And there's a possibility existing simultaneously in the quantum field of the vitality of a new life, rich with opportunity, an awe for adventure, and a sense of unbelievability where you feel like you're in a dream. There's a potential in the quantum field that all your prayers are answered, that possibility finds you, that its prayers are being answered. Being inspired means to see a future without obstacles, to see a potential without sweating the details, to know that you're connected to a new reality. Lift yourself up and memorize this feeling of possibility, to be open to the expectation of the unknown. When you get to the top, now you hold your breath. And when you hold your breath, you contract those intrinsic muscles, and you begin to lift those muscles up, and you begin to compress those muscles, and you begin to push that cerebral spinal fluid up into your brain. So then why do I ask you to inhale and hold your breath? Now this isn't inhaling and turning purple and pushing. If you're doing that, you're doing it wrong. It's a slow, steady breath, and you follow that breath all the way to the top, either to the top of your head, or you put your awareness on where that pineal gland is between the back of your throat and the back of your head. Now, when you inhale, that inhalation is very slow and very steady. It's not a big inhalation and pushing. It's a slow, steady breath, and you're contracting these muscles and coordinating it, and you're following your breath all the way to the top of your head. And when you get to the top of your head, I'm going to ask you to inhale a little bit more, and as you pull up, you're going to lock these muscles down even further, and you're lifting them up. Once you lift them up and you have your attention either on the top of your head or the space that your pineal gland occupies in space, I'm going to ask you to lock those muscles down and pump, squeeze, or push. And I want you to push that fluid up into your brain by squeezing the muscles. Not by holding your breath harder, but by squeezing those muscles. I want you to begin to pump that fluid and begin to compress up against your pineal gland. When you do this breath, you have to demonstrate a will that's greater than any program. You have to find a level of intensity or a level of passion that's greater than the body as the mind, or any addiction to any emotion. You have to be inspiration, the movement of energy. Don't be afraid of it. Just surrender into it. For some people, their body will do unusual things. That's information trying to be integrated into it. Don't be afraid of it. Just surrender into it. If your body does weird things, more than likely that's energy moving to your brain. If you have a lapse of consciousness, or you all of a sudden find yourself on the ground, that's energy moving into your brain. It's happened to me numerous times. It's a sign that you're getting close, or at least doing it correctly. Now, where you place your attention is where you place your energy. So you want that energy to move right to the top of your head. Inspiration, the movement of energy. You have to find a level of intensity or a level of passion that's greater than the body as the mind, or any addiction to any emotion. Don't be afraid of it. Just surrender into it. On a Sunday morning, while she was in the shower, her husband said goodbye to his 2 children, yelled something to her while she was in the shower, and then went to the tallest building in Amsterdam and jumped off the building and committed suicide. Now that is a stressful event. And when she got the news, she experienced all the emotions that people experience from something that's shocking and traumatic like that. She was suffering. She was in pain. She was resentful. She was guilty. She was confused. She was angry. She went through the whole gamut of emotions. And all of those emotions, by the way, are derived from the hormones of stress. So she has an event in her life. It changes her biologically. She doesn't know how to control her emotional reaction. It turns into a mood, one long emotional reaction. If you keep reviewing that event in your mind, you begin to produce the same chemistry in your brain and body as if the event was occurring. So her body is being conditioned to the past because she's reliving the experience 50 to 100 times in a day, and her body is beginning to believe it's in the same past experience over and over again. It ultimately goes from a mood to a temperament, and now people are asking her in her life, why are you so upset? She tells the story, and she's basically saying, I am this way because of this event that happened to me 4 months ago. So then if we keep that going for extended periods of time and those emotions are driving our thoughts and we can't think greater than how we feel, our feelings have become the means of thinking. We're thinking in the past, and now we're stuck in our biology. So one day she wakes up and she's completely paralyzed from her waist down, and she can't get out of bed, so they rush her to the hospital. They do MRIs, they do all the tests. They can't find anything significant with her, so they just diagnose her with neuritis. And so now she's bedridden, and she cannot literally get out of bed. So now she can't work, she can't take care of her children. Her mother has to move in with her, and she doesn't have any money because she's not working, and her stress levels go up. So now the condition gets worse. As her stress levels go up, it's the same chemicals of stress that are knocking the brain and body out of balance, signaling the wrong genes in the wrong way. And another few months later, she develops these huge ulcerations in all the mucous membranes of her body, in her mouth, her throat, her upper stomach, her bladder, her vagina, her anus. She's got these huge ulcers. Now she can't eat, and if she can't eat, she's knocking her body now out of chemical balance even more, and it hurts. So now she's spiraling downward, and then she finally starts noticing her symptoms getting worse, and she goes to the doctor, and they diagnose her with esophageal cancer. Now, the moment she gets the diagnosis of esophageal cancer, now she gets even more stressed, and she's in fear now, and she realizes that her children may not have a mom. And so she came to one of our workshops, and I remember specifically because she came in with crutches and a wheelchair and a walker, and she sat on the left side of the room. And it was an introductory level course, and she understood that she could change it intellectually, but she had a very big challenge ahead of her, and she realized how much she was in her past. She had a vision of her future. Like she wasn't visualizing anything, she just got a very clear vision, and she was so excited that she went home and she did her meditation every single day. Now she understood that she had to upregulate new genes and downregulate genes that had to do with her disease, and that every day she had to knock on the genetic door. Now, the first thing I want to say is that I'm certain that there were days that she didn't feel like doing her meditation, and she did that anyway. She did it anyway. There were days where she had a tremendous amount of doubt, and she didn't think it was possible, but she did her meditations every single day. That's the point. So as people start getting through this and they start having very profound moments, and they're now opening their heart and they can sustain heart coherence and they know how to create brain coherence, that's the formula. And now they have a laser. They have coherent light and information that can read information that exists beyond the senses. And the pineal gland, once activated, will transduce it into profound imagery. Whether you see with your eyes open or your eyes closed, it doesn't matter because it's more real than anything you've ever experienced. Let's have a small pause here. It's the next part. Dr. Zhou is going to talk about his research about the 4 states of matter. Listen carefully. This is very important. And so I started researching, and I found that there's 4 states of matter. There's solids, there's liquids, there's gases, and the biggest, most abundant form of matter, what's called plasma. And plasma is when you have a negative charge and a positive charge, and they haven't formed an atom yet. So if you have a negative charge and a positive charge, then you're going to have an electrical current running between the two and a field around that current. And the universe really, stars connect through plasma. Everything connects through plasma. So when you start seeing these complex patterns, it's an impression from that plasma that's being pressed into 3-dimensional reality. And so if you take 3 stones, right, and you drop them at the same time into a plate, and you freeze the water in the plate, and those 3 stones fall, and they start producing concentric rings, and they start interfering with each other, you're starting to get complex pattern of interference. If you take a light and you shine it through that frozen piece of matter, when you shine the light through it, when the light shines through it, the laser shines through it, you will see the appearance, a hologram of those 3 stones projected out into space. That's exactly how reality is. So then reality then is a projection, right? And so then when you study matter, it's not matter that's emitting a field. It's actually those complex patterns that are creating matter. So then you don't change the tumor. The tumor is the effect of the pattern in the field. Change the field, you change matter. So teaching people how to do that when they change the pattern in the field and it starts to appear as change in 3-dimensional reality, the illusion is everybody's been trying to change matter.